The biggest deal in history implies a lie. The entire 2025 AI rally is anchored on a $100 billion Nvidia OpenAI partnership. But if you read the fine print in the Q4 filing, that deal is a ghost. If this falls apart, your portfolio may go with it. Nvidia admits the contract isn't even signed. That's right, folks. We're gonna explore the ever-creative world that is the AI bubble, the open AI trap. And we're starting with the ghost contract. So we've all been informed about this thing, but it never existed. The entire Q4 AI rally was fueled by a $100 billion Nvidia OpenAI mega deal. Now, granted, well, in many aspects, it wasn't just this, but this was a big part of it, right? This was a big deal that legally does not exist. It's just a handshake thing. 2 months post announcement, and it remains a letter of intent with 0 binding signatures, while Nvidia's chief financial officer explicitly admits there is no assurance it will ever be signed. Isn't that insane? Can you and I really do that? Think about it. What's going on here and what is the big deal? So when they announce these $100 billion deals, guess what happens? The price rallies, the price goes up, right? And this is not just for one company, this is for all the companies involved and everyone surrounding it. And guess what? If the price of your company goes up, what happens then? Because this is not anything real, these are all abstract things. Things such as shares represent the actual value, and you can now just sell them, right? Exchange them for money. And now you can use this money to fuel whatever other thing you want to do. So these announcements actually have real, financial consequences. And that is why you and I cannot just say anything we want. That's why there's such a thing such as the Security Exchange Commission that makes sure that our announcements, the words we make, the words we say are legitimate and don't go against investor interests, right? And obviously many more aspects. But here, this AI bubble is pretty much, untouchable. Nobody can touch this. Perhaps after this thing pops, there'll be, more strict and there'll be a forensic. But as of right now, they can just announce these things and not even have a solid contract, and it may or may not even happen. Insanity, right? This is obviously a big deal, and the reason for that is this, right? The 4 AI giant drove half of the 2025 US stock market rally. Look, it's insanity, right? Obviously, Alphabet is doing great. Alphabet is the parent company of Google. And there's Nvidia, Broadcom, and Microsoft. And there's all kinds of companies as well, right? Which are behind this, including OpenAI, right? And when they make these deals, it definitely affects the market, right? Things move. People have expectations. Now, there is a catch, and I'm going to end with that. But while Nvidia is stuck in handshake limbo, OpenAI did sign a definitive binding contract with AMD, which is Nvidia's main rival. Granted, Nvidia now has many rivals, and I actually intend to make a video about that. On October the 5th, complete with actual stock warrants and vesting milestones. The loyal partner is actively hedging against Nvidia. And, everyone is shown this, this image right here, which shows all the dealings that are happening internally. Now, let me just add a comment regarding this. It is true that OpenAI is hedging, but it's not just OpenAI, it's all kinds of companies, right? So right now, Nvidia had a monopoly, right? Nvidia used to have a monopoly, but this monopoly is actively being pursued. Why? Because of the high margin, okay? Because of something called high margin, meaning that this is the cost of a product, and then this is the additional margin you can add. Why? Because nobody else has this product. So if you want to buy the product, you have to pay this price, but you're essentially overpaying for a product that only costs this much. And when you have this level of high margin, many people swoop in and many people try to take your lunch. And that is what Nvidia is experiencing right now from all kinds of angles. And another thing, obviously, is because they're all making deals, they're all trying to throw each other under the bus because they don't really care if OpenAI, OpenAI is very scared, of course, of losing the lead, right? Losing the lead because everyone is pretty much trying to make large language models, which is OpenAI's primary product, but there's no real moat, and OpenAI knows that, right? So it has to diversify because Nvidia is coming up with their own models, right? Microsoft is coming up with its own models. Amazon is coming up with its own models, XAI. So OpenAI has to diversify and essentially create as many links as possible to make itself too big to fail. So that's what's really going on. There's not really friendship going on in this system. It's more like everybody's trying to survive because everyone knows it's a bubble, right? When we look at this from the outside in, we're thinking these people are highly competent, right? They know what they're doing and all this stuff. But that's not true. That's not actually what's happening here. What's actually happening is, for anybody who has experienced some level of success or, things going well, is you get surprised as well, right? It's all a surprise, right? So it's not like OpenAI is very confident and knows the future. No, they launched an app and it took off suddenly, right? They had no idea it was going to be this big. If you look at the very early videos and stuff, you would actually know that. And I know that as well because I've been following them before even they dropped ChatGPT because I'm an AI geek. And, they had no idea ChatGPT was going to be this big. So everybody is trying to essentially make themselves too big to fail and trying to survive this bubble because everyone knows that this is a bubble that is going to crash at some point. But the question is, are we here? Are we here? Or are we already, near the top and is everything going to go down from here? Because this is the graveyard of many companies and everyone is simply put trying to make sure they are not in this graveyard. Now, a counter argument to this image right here, because everyone is showing this image and they're like, haha, you see, it's just a bubble. Everybody's trading with one another. But who else are they going to trade with? If you are OpenAI, what do you need? You need cloud, okay? You need compute. Who are you going to go to? Nobody has the type of infrastructure that you can find in the USA. They can't go to Europe. They can't go to any other place. They have to buy from Nvidia. They have to buy from Oracle. They have to buy from Intel, and they have to buy from Microsoft. These guys have massive cloud compute businesses, including Google and stuff, right? So they have to come here, right? And if you're going to invest in one another, guess what? If you are a private company, there's only so much private money, right? They cannot keep raising money, even if their business is great. Like, let's say OpenAI, it's one of, I believe it was the fastest business to 1 billion users in history, or to 100 million users. I forgot the exact stat, but it was one of the, or if not the fastest growing product or service in history. And so that's a very valuable thing, right? So how are you gonna have proper valuation if the only place you can raise money is private, right? There's a limited amount of billionaires and people with hundreds of millions of dollars who are willing to invest in your company. So they have to make these deals with Nvidia and Intel, etc., to continue to be valued appropriately. Now, where's the barrier, right? At what point are they overvaluing themselves? At what point are they playing a game? Because you can quickly overvalue things and go too far, right? But that's what's going on. So this is not enough to identify a bubble. This is simply one of the mechanics. And the last piece is that this is a closed economy. There's only us human beings here. They are trading with each other. How else do you do business? This is called a business. If you sell apples, you're going to go to people who buy apples, and you're only going to be dealing with people who buy apples, people who create tools to be able to get the apples, farm equipment or whatever. So these are the people you're going to be dealing with, and you're probably going to invest in one another. Oh, your business is doing great. Okay, let me buy a piece of your business. We're all in the apple business. So we're trying to, get apples or cows or whatever your business is, right? And so that's what's happening here. Of course, these guys are going to be handling with each other. Who else are they going to be dealing with? with farm companies or whatever. No, this is who they deal with, right? And that is the counter argument to all the people saying this is a bubble, but it is a bubble. It is a bubble. It's just it's gone a little bit on the crazy side, right? It made sense at some point, but now it's escalating to a degree where it's like, okay, now things are insane. Nvidia massive $500 billion revenue guidance for 2025 and 2026 completely excludes OpenAI deal. And so that is just to say that, yes, all this money that they are announcing, they are not including that in the revenue guidance, because that's what some people are implying. But even so, they are still benefiting, right? Because again, their stock price is going up. And when their stock price goes up, when you are a company, you can offer more shares. You can offer an infinite amount of shares. And when the stock market goes up, you can offer a lot of shares because there's a lot of liquidity, right? There's a lot of buy pressure. Lots of people want to buy this. So you can still make a lot of money with this, even though it's not included in the revenue guidance. And also another bullish point for the bulls, because I'm going to end with this. Even though it's a bubble, doesn't mean it's going to pop tomorrow. It can go on for a while. So another bullish point is that because it's not included in the guidance, this means that if this money that they promised, this deal that they have, if it actually does go through, they will beat the guidance. So actually, it's bullish for the guidance in the future. Now, the company is internally budgeting as if the biggest AI project in history might generate $0, contradicting the public hype cycle. So it is definitely a contradiction. They definitely play games with us. But what are we gonna do? The contract just evaporated. It's just poof. There was no contract in the beginning. There was no spoon. And just to show you that this bubble can definitely go on for a while, look, NASDAQ 100 since October 2022 versus historical series, right? So we can actually see that, other bubbles were great, right? So the Great Depression, we can actually see here, it was going on for it went way higher than what we have right now. The gold boom, it was much more intense. The Japanese asset price bubble, this was crazy. At this point, Japan was pretty much viewed how we view China right now, that it was inevitably going to overtake the USA, and then it collapsed. Same thing is going to happen with China, by the way, but that's a different video. To put it simply, their demographic is a disaster, and they have huge amounts of debt. So this is probably going to happen to China as well. Dot-com bubble, which was much, much higher, and I'm going to prove that in a second as well. And the housing bubble, it has pretty much beat that. And the Chinese stock market bubble, Chinese stock market really got wrecked, spooked a lot of people. Not many people investing in the Chinese stock market. I believe it probably because of that, but many more factors as well. And here we can actually see the S&P index. So everyone is pointing to this, right? They're saying, look, the AI bubble is going crazy. Again, it is a bubble, but it can go a lot crazier is the point I'm trying to make. If you look here at the logarithmic scale, logarithmic pretty much means you go from 10, 100, 1,000, where you 10x every step. And here you can pretty much compare it better, right? Because you can see the escalation was far greater in the dot-com bubble. So this can definitely go on for a while, okay? This can go on for a couple more years. And I think actually that the bubble will peak once nobody calls it a bubble anymore. Once it's been going on for a while, and even the biggest bears have been, have been destroyed in the comments, and they're done, financially ruined. Everybody's like, yeah, AI goes up. It goes up only. Yeah, there's some bleeps here and there, but generally speaking, it goes up. This is a great investment, and everybody thinks it's a great investment. That's when the bubble pops, right? When everyone calls it a bubble, when everyone knows it's gonna pop, I think that's not when it pops. It pops when everyone is so confident in their prediction and they think it's gonna pop. That's when you will see this poof popping of the bubble. With that being said, definitely let me know in the comment section below, what do you think about this insanity? Do you think I'm right? Do you think I'm wrong? Do you think this isn't a bubble, it's justified? Or do you think the bubble is about to burst right there and then? Want to give a special shout out to the Patreons. Salute, soldier.